Oh, right. Yes, I'm sure everybody's heard that I'm leaving.
No way.
Yeah, but I did want to say, like, one of my main focuses when I came to town 2 years ago was like to create a relationship with the select board, with the community, and not snow. Not hope that I've done that. We're all in this together. We're all like partners in the whole thing. And I like just want to, I appreciate the relationships that I've built with this group here. And like a lot of people that sit back here with me, but you know, I can't thank you enough for inviting myself and my wife into the community. And yeah, we enjoyed it all. But we're on our way out now, unfortunately. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. So Brian set up a monthly meeting that he and I had, and that's really nice, and I hope your successor does the same, because I think it's important to get a dialogue going.
Great.
Really appreciate that, so good luck to you.
I would suggest you just put it on their calendar. Like, don't even have a conversation.
Just have Megan do it.
Yeah, it's just there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments? I don't see anybody. Moving on, we're going to do unfinished business, continue discussion on public water system committee. So we had a brief discussion the last time and decided and voted to create a committee. So I think we need to discuss some of the, how we want to recruit members to that and how we want to have the board, that particular committee configured. Sarah.
I was in some of the conversations with the subgroup that started talking about it. And one of the things we started with was the idea of having a representative from different interest groups within the town. And we realized that for a lot of these people, there's overlap. Like somebody could be a town employee and be a town business owner, you know, local business owner, and be from Eastover. So that there were multiple hats that individuals could wear. So we thought one of the suggestions that came up was the idea of, instead of trying to pick a person for this role, is to ask people which of the following hats or which of the following descriptives were accurate for them, and then ask them to write a letter of intent. We may want to put together a very short series of questions to ask people about their interest. But I think that rather than trying to have it be the specific pigeonholes, we can probably do it with a smaller group and still get the representation we need.
So I know you've had conversations, Sarah, with Patrick. What is the planning commission's feel for how many people should be on this particular committee?
Absolute maximum is 7.
So do we want to? Wow, it's raining. Do we want? Yes.
If the board is okay with it, I would like to, I could go back to Patrick and talk to Eric and come up with some ideas for some questions we could ask and the list of the stakeholder positions we're looking for, and have that as a final document that we can vote on next week.
Yes, Jeanette.
Rich Werner expressed an interest in serving on that.
So anybody who is interested should go through our application letter.
The process.
Situation, yes.
Not that dissimilar from what we did for trails.
And we would have to advertise it, obviously.
So I know we had worked on a draft, so that's still draft needs to be reworked.
So is everybody good with coming back to the next meeting with a more refined goal for the committee and demographics?
Yes, I think probably 5 would be better. I know you said no more than.
Right.
But.
Yeah, they get. Yes, Joe.
I think it should be 5. I'm all for having a committee, but I think as a select board, at least for myself, I know what the next step is. So I think we need to. At that next meeting to fund some money for the project, because it's really coming down to, we have. The previous one. We just really need to get some engineering done, and get some costs for the project. And the only way that's gonna occur is if we start to spend some money and look for the next step. So I'm all for the committee. And moving forward, but we need to move on it, not just keep talking about
Sarah.
So I'm gonna ask Joe directly, so you're talking about, reaching out before the next meeting to get a sense of what sort of budget would be appropriate for this? Like reach out to an engineering firm or two and get an idea of cost, or just say.
it. That would be awesome, so that we can fund it and then the committee can move forward with. The charge of making it happen.
Okay.
It's not a matter of talking about, it, having a committee about it.
Mm.
It has to happen due to circumstances that are going on with water today. So if we don't do something, we're just gonna. We're not gonna be well off years down the line. And the only way we can get funding for something like this, talking to people involved in this, is to get the engineering plan done, get it ready to actually start. And that's gonna cost us as a town money to get the ball rolling.
And can I ask Joe where you propose the money will come from?
I do. I would say the first place that we can get it from is the economic development. I think it's an important. To get that money on the table, and then as it starts to roll and people get that we're serious about it. Then we at town meeting could decide to do whatever other process when we have a town meeting, and actually in 3 or 4 months, we'll know better. But to sit and keep thinking about it is not gonna do us any good.
Sarah.
I'd be willing to contact Wyndham Regional to get some direction from them. And reach out to a couple of the engineering firms that we've been talking to about other things to get their input as well.
It's gonna take years.
I understand that, but like you said.
Yeah.
The longer we take to take the first step, it's that many more years, right?
I think we need to make the commitment financially. To make it actually be known that it's a done deal, to make it happen.
Yeah.
I agree with Joe.
Well, I have to say that if we do actually go and create a water system, it's gonna be a bond vote, and so it's gonna be a vote. There's no way that we're gonna be able to do it in any other manner. Yes, grants are great, but there's still gonna be a bond. It's just that much money.
And where that bond comes from and who actually pays for it, that's something that we have to figure
Well,
out
that's part of
going
the,
forward.
and in my mind, that's
Hopefully-
part of the committee's work.
Hopefully, some of the larger stakeholders in the water project will hopefully. We can work some different things out, so it's not gonna be a burden on. Those as the taxpayers that are gonna have no benefit to it, but the people that are not gonna have a benefit to it are gonna feel the pain of it. in my opinion. And it just has to be done.
Sarah,
So I just want to be clear, by the next meeting, you'd like a sense of the cost of what would be needed from a preliminary perspective to start discussing a water system, right?
I like the fact you wanna keep discussing it. The
No,
next- The
but
next step in this, Sarah,
I'm asking the question
is
about.
how
when
much
I-
is it gonna cost to
So-
put an engineering plan?
When I go to the engineering firms in Wyndham Region, that's what I'm asking them then, can you give us a
Cost.
range, a cost range, because until they start it, they may not know exactly what it's gonna be involved.
There's a lot of permitting, there's a lot of state, there's a lot of everything.
other comments from anybody about the water committee? And I still think, Sarah, if you want to, I think it's important to bring forward the committee to be a steering committee for this and have focus on it. So are you okay with that, Joe?
Just gotta stop talking about
We've gotta stop just talking about it.
Right. And we need to be talking about it to a wide audience too. So this is some of the reasons why not all of us have the time to put into something like this, so.
I'm almost retired.
Anything else on the water committee for tonight? I hear nothing. Next, update on the town common well project and the town office heating cooling project. Jeanette, thank you for sending us this. You wanna talk about this?
Yeah, if anyone would like to read through.
Mhm.
We received the energy assessments that were conducted on the town hall building and the library daycare buildings. That were done back in January. So interesting, a lot more detailed than the one that was conducted here at the town office, so. It points out some good points to think about. As far as the well goes, I had an update from Stephen at CAS, which I sent on to folks as well. That now that the new well source has been tested, the next step is a source permit, which should be issued soon. This was back in June. And I asked him for more pertinent information, but I haven't heard back from him, so I think he's on vacation. So, and then after the source permit is issued, the next step is obtaining a construction permit, which will, to modify the existing water system to hook up the new well. He suggests that it should be part of a larger effort to replace the boiler and the water tank, the water storage tank as well, to provide enough storage for the new well. And it will likely need to convert it to
Hello, everybody on Zoom. We lost our connection, so we are now back. We haven't done anything since we left. You left us.
It looks like they're still there.
Yeah, they are. Okay, so anybody have any questions or concerns about Jeanette asking contractors for some quotes on the town office building, heating and cooling and insulating and everything?
Do it. Make a motion.
No,
Okay.
just
Yeah,
getting
I
quotes.
just get one, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Votes none.
Okay.
Now.
Anything else on that? Okay. Next, we have the Green Mountain Power Agreement for Eastover Road and North Street project, and this is what we agreed to at the last meeting, and it requires the whole board to sign on it.
Okay. So I make a motion that we sign the agreement between Green Mountain Power and Dover Select Board for the Eastover Road North Street project.
Sorry.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Uh,
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. I just wanted to relay that Travis mentioned he would not be here tonight, but he has been in touch with both of them and he's good with everything. And as far as I know, once they get this agreement, they're gonna start as soon as tomorrow. That works.
Yes,
Spoke with Travis today, he said they're ahead of schedule.
Green Mountain Power, I mean, yeah, their signage is all over North Street.
The Grand Summit, kind of spoke of the Grand Summit. My money back. I know, that's why I gotta get as much as I can. Not getting any money this.
Okay, we're moving on to new business. Discuss select board roles and responsibilities as a board and as an individual member. So this is on the agenda because it appears that a board member went to an employee, discussed a matter, and made the employee feel that their employment was in jeopardy. And I know that most of the employees in this building at least are aware of what happened. Or think they know what's happened. And so I just want to remind everybody that we as the board are a board of 5. Only the 5 of us make decisions to do things. And to go to an individual employee and what was perceived as a potential concern for their future employment is not an appropriate thing for any board member to do. And so I just want to remind everybody about that. And I want to apologize to the employees, because that is not our role whatsoever. Our role is to show up on time, be prepared, and participate in the meeting. And when we make decisions, we'll make decisions, but we don't, as individual board members, discuss that kind of thing with an employee. Sarah.
And I think it should be made clear too that it's possible for what you say to be perceived as threatening when that may not have been your intention. So it's really, it's kind of on us to think really hard about what we say before we say it to an employee, so that that person does not, that there's not the distinct possibility of them misunderstanding it and feeling that their job was just threatened because of how they were approached about a specific matter.
May I speak?
Yeah.
This is about Nick. So Trent Morsel comes into my coffee shop, requested that he didn't get a barrel of flowers in front of his place for beautification. Tripp, of course, is the guy who spearheaded the pickleball thing, which is a great hit here. And as a result of that, he asked me if I would step down there and speak to him and Michael, who is actually the owner, Michael Levesque, who owns the property. I did. It was a very cordial meeting. I pointed out to him that even though they had expected to it funds, that there's a thing called ex post facto. You don't do it and then put it in for a grant. You have to put it in first. He accepted that. Tripp was there as well and asked about a barrel of flowers for the beautification. So I said I'd see what I could do. So I called up Travis and I asked him what we do to get a barrel there. And he said to me, you have to contact Shannon. I called Shannon and never got a response from her. According to Vicky, when she spoke to me on the phone last week, she was on vacation. However, I believe Tripp tried to call her and I don't think she responded to him either. So we had a meeting, select board meeting, which Eric attended. I point this out to him and he said to me, well, you know, we have so many barrels, but it was agreed amongst the members of the select board, not Scott, because he wasn't at the thing, that we're going to get a barrel for it. 1 week, 2 weeks went by, no barrel. So I called up Eric and I said, what's the story with the barrel? His exact words to me, you expect me to run out now and get a barrel for him? I'll put him on the list for next week. I said, I have a solution. Being the president of the Historical Society, give him my barrel. The least they could do is get something. Now, as you know, the wonderful people at Farm Road Estates did 3 concerts this weekend. They also hosted the run. They've done a great job. Tripp may be the messenger who you want to shoot, but the reality is Michael Vescu and Farm Road Estates, no good deed should go unpunished. So I never threatened Eric. I just said I had a solution. I called Travis, he brought the barrel over. I actuated nothing. I threatened no one, and I'm a guy who gets things done. And in my cafe, people come into me, they request things about the library. Last week, somebody wanted to know why we didn't pick up the skunk on the street. During the pandemic, we've registered 15,924 customers that came into my store. Nobody here has any business that they run that see so many people as I do. And I believe as a constituent source, it's my job to help people do things. When I had problems with Medicare, I called Senator Leahy's office. Graham Forward got me in touch with the people at Medicare in Boston, the director, they straightened my problem. I complained to Bernie Sanders one time about the fact that we're considered by Nielsen ratings to be in Boston. So all the television stations we get are in Boston. And in order to get local television, you have to pay extra. So all the advertising revenue that they do for Boston, the money goes to Boston and we don't get the business here. He sent me the FCC regulation. That's a case of being bad in responding. So what I did in my think the best interest of the town. I never threatened anyone. I just got the job done. I'm elected by the people of the town, not by the select board. The only election we have here at the select board is the people who we chair here. I voted for you to be the chairperson, push it tops in the budget. And the most important thing we do here is to make sure that we don't waste the people's money. But more importantly, this is not a personality contest. We have to do what people request. And I did the best I could. I apologize if anyone was offended. It was never my intention. It was just to get the job done.
I apologize. If this happened and I missed it, I apologize. But when did we vote to put a flower barrel?
No, there was no vote. We didn't vote for the 84 barrels that are around here either. It was just
No,
a
we
gesture.
voted for the budget.
Excuse me,
Your
and no crosstalk.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, and again, if I perceived what you said incorrectly, I apologize, but I thought one of the things you just said was that we had agreed as a board to put one in front of the pickleball court. And then failed to follow through on that. And if I misunderstood you, I apologize, that's what I thought I heard.
No, you didn't misunderstand me.
Okay.
What I said to you is what Vicky said to me on the telephone, that we didn't vote on it. Well, I never voted to have a barrel in front of the Historical Society.
Excuse me, but we do vote on our barrel program with the Economic Development Department every 3 years or so. And so that's what we do. And I'm very concerned because this particular employee had to go home and didn't want to be in the office the rest of the day. Now, that's not funny, Jan. That's not funny.
I didn't insult anyone.
Well, okay,
It's not my way.
Hold on, okay? Sarah?
I absolutely 100% agree that there should be a barrel in front of the pickleball courts. I think it's a great spot. I think it's wonderful. I work in the office across the street and I listen to you guys all day long. And I see all the cars coming in and out. My sister and brother-in-law are over there quite a bit. And I think it's wonderful. My only concern with the barrel at this time of year is putting a new one out there would be these seedlings, basically. And that it wouldn't have the visual impact that it should have. Because Janet doesn't have planted barrels waiting to be brought in. I don't think that Dan's solution was wrong. I just think it should have been something that the 5 of us discussed first. Let me finish. I also think this has brought out to us something that we weren't aware of, and that is that we don't really have a system for people requesting barrels. And we will put that into procedures for next winter, because we need to make those decisions early in the spring when we contract with Boyd Farm for them. So if there was ever any impression that I didn't think the barrel should be there, that is incorrect. That is not how I feel. I just was concerned that if we brought a new barrel over there, and again, this is all after the fact. I didn't know about this until after it had already happened. But putting a new barrel out would have these seedlings that would really, I think it would look worse than not having them in that case. Because they would just be these, everything else is fully grown up. It would be very disparate with what we already have.
Oh, can I speak now?
Yes.
I got a call from Janet Boyd last week and she says, oh, did I miss something? Is there anything I can do to fix up the barrel? I said, no, you didn't miss anything. In reality, every department here, we have a great police department, highway department, we have a terrific fire department volunteer, we got a great treasurer. All of them have contingencies built into their businesses. Mike and Randy decided to buy a cruiser, it was in their budget. Travis bought some materials and a truck for him. Rich bought a new pickup truck because they couldn't pull the rescue thing. And when I spoke to Travis today, he says, oh, I have extra barrels. Why does he have extra barrels? Somebody could break one, somebody could steal one. I get your point. The point is very important to do this before July 4th, because the plants won't survive and they won't look good. I get that. But if you look across the street, you'll see a barrel of mine that was donated to me by Jamaica Gardens, because he knew I was without a barrel and he went and gave me a free barrel. So I'm now off the hook for the town. I'm saving you $500. I'll take care of my own barrel.
Trip.
So, I told my partners I would come here and give constructive criticism. I realize that I'm not the most popular business owner in the town, by at least the majority of the Selectboard. I want to try to help this town welcome new businesses. And if somebody came to my business and said, we're thinking about opening a business in the town of Dover. How did it go for you guys with the town of Dover? What did they do to help you? And I don't want to go into what I would say, because the answer is they didn't. I have a love for this town, and it needs to carry over to the economic development, to the select board, to want new people to come in and do business. And I want you guys to want me to say, it was the best experience I've ever had. And it should be the best experience any new business that comes to this town has had. This is a great place to do business. But it was not shown to us, and probably because you guys just don't like me, but Mike Levesque deserves it. Eileen Winters deserves it, they've done a ton for this town. And, you know, I've got 3 select board members who have not even bothered to stop in. Dan has been there a few times, because I mentioned it to him, and Scott, we don't let in anymore because he's too good people. But. God, we gotta do better when it comes to doing things. Our economic development board should be welcoming new business, saying, this is what we can do for you. Tabby, you gotta be friendlier when somebody comes in about signs. I'm just telling you, we can do this better. I know we can do this better, and we should do this better. I wanna be able to tell somebody else that comes to my town, we have so many second homeowners that say, I love what you're doing up here. And yet, this has been a train wreck of opening the business. You guys didn't. I mean, to get a flower pot, I was gonna open that business, you saw the signs back in December. Somebody could have come to me and say, by the way, we put out flower pots, would you like? How tough is that? Shouldn't we do better here? That's all I have to say, that's just constructive criticism.
Thank you for your comments, Trip. Anybody else have anything to say?
Have a lot, but I'm gonna hold my thoughts.
I just think it's important that when we interact with our employees, board members in particular, that we know the bounds that we should be working in, and most decisions have to be board decisions, and I hear you, Dan, send them to the town office, send them to the right place. It's important to send people to the people who we employ to do their jobs every day and do their jobs every day. And it creates a rift of people who are in, of our employees, and this was just an unfortunate either misunderstanding or not, that we don't want to do again. I am not down with having the situation happen again. And so I apologize on behalf of the board. Okay. Next, approve the Sullivan Powers Audit Agreement.
It's just a
Anyone,
basic thing that we do every year, just consulting,
and the price, is it up?
does it have a price on it, Marco?
Free. I don't think so.
This is the,
That's the agree, I don't think the price is in there, but I can find out, it'll be the higher one, because it's the full.
The full.
Scope, so,
it'd be nice to know how much they went up.
I'll get it
for the
back
last
to you.
3 years.
It's not like we're gonna not vote for it if we don't like it, right?
No.
Can we put it out for bid to somebody else? They've been the same company, maybe we could get a new company, is there any other companies out there?
When do we have to get this done, Marco?
Oh, they're coming out strong.
No, sounds like we have to sign it anyway.
It's funny that you would have an agreement
Oh,
with that.
I'm
price.
sorry, oh, here we go. We determined that the audit services can be performed for a fee of $19,500, provided that the books are closed and reconciled and our to-do list is completed prior to our commencing field work.
So it's not a huge amount.
Our procedure is to bill on a progress basis, for work performed to date.
Yeah, that's on the high end, they usually quote the high end,
Well, when I was on the school board, it was $10,000 every year, and that
Yeah.
was 15 years ago, so I think it's probably about.
yeah, I mean, I only got that late yesterday, because it comes to you guys, so I usually bypass me on purpose, so.
Sometimes they're in the
Yeah.
building before we sign it, because then you just gotta get it right.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Does it need the whole board signature or just yours?
It's got 3 lines,
Oh, everybody
we
does.
have 3 signatures,
No, just everybody, just.
Two people are trying to settle that.
Mhm.
we'll have to add one.
And if I could ask Marco, I'm not, maybe Joe's right, for next year, we should be talking about whether we wanna use somebody else, are there
We
other
haven't
companies?
Voted yet.
There are, I mean,
It's
it's
not-
completely up, it's really not, shouldn't be up to me, you know, it's.
I'm not asking if it's up to you, I'm asking if there's other, if there are other companies that offer this service that we should be reaching out to for bids.
There are, I mean, I don't see any reason why you'd wanna change, you know, it's generally, we have a good working relationship, they're familiar with our books, how we do things, you know, they know where things are, I think it's a big, probably more expensive to go outside. It would start a new relationship and more time consuming because they don't know anything about how we do things. They switch people internally to keep themselves fresh. So,
That's the question. I want to make sure they're not sending the same.
no, it's,
People just different people.
yeah,
Just so we're not looking at the same. You know, you wanna have it switched around so they could find something.
We haven't voted yet.
Dan,
Going right ahead.
and could I ask, is that 19.5, is that not to exceed, or is that,
that, I believe that's on the high end, I don't think we've ever hit that.
okay, so,
Yeah,
okay.
cause it's progress based, so.
It is kind of buried anyway.
It is, yeah. It's almost like the.
It won't be buried on the
Leverage.
average.
It's like fine print.
Yeah, so
So-
the arrangements, yes.
I make a motion that we sign for approval of the Sullivan Powers audit agreement for the town for an amount not to exceed, or anticipated not to exceed 19,500.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, signatures, and then we're gonna move on to reviewing the heating oil and fuel bid proposals. So a lot of bids,
We got five.
and in general, lower than last year, which I'm happy about,
That's amazing.
yeah. So. To me, it appears that NITO's across the board is the lowest.
Right, there's only, winter diesel is the only category, and that's $1,000 different.
What about? On that?
I'm sorry?
So we had bids from Coda, Dead River, NITO's, Sandry.
Yeah, just one.
Four, I'm sorry, I was like,
Yeah, should go in four.
so the total, some of them are not. All in, So the-
the total is on.
The total basically, if you look on the back side,
Yeah, nice.
is the pre-bought amount, which is for the heating oil. So that's what we have to pay to lock in.
so the lowest bid is NITO's at $37,383.05. And they're lowest by $18,000, somewhere in there.
Well,
Part of that is
That's-
because we have credits from last year.
Right.
that's,
Yeah, we have.
But their fuel oil rate is 3.079.
Mhm.
Which is considerably lower. than
Yes.
the three.
Okay, so I make a motion, we contract with NITO's to provide heating oil, kerosene, summer diesel, winter diesel, and propane.
That's second.
I think Dan got that one, sorry, Scott. Any other discussion? Jim?
Can you tell me the prices of each bid?
Sure, of each
You
bid
want
for
a
each,
sheet?
you want sheets, we all have sheets.
You're gonna
Yeah.
have one of our sheets.
No, I-
Here, take it.
Give them all,
Give that one to Mike.
I already printed it off, so.
See, that's what these guys
I
got.
have it in my computer, we'll pretend that I know how to take things electronically.
I'm gonna give Jim a moment to go through
I
it.
was gonna ask.
Okay.
Yeah. Zoom right through.
Thank you, have safe travels.
You gonna
Thank
join
you.
Rotary up there?
What's that?
You gonna join Rotary up there?
Right.
So Jim, do you have any comment?
I do have a comment before you
Yes, please.
just jump on the propane price. Those 3,000 gallon tanks represent $4,000,
Mhm,
plus or minus a little.
mhm.
The town doesn't own those as far as I know.
Correct.
What is the cost to replace those tanks? And what is the yearly charge for renting those tanks?
Yeah, we could,
And what is the service fee to hook up the new tanks? I mean, it's a little more the pricing involved.
Right. I don't believe we own any of the tanks, because I don't think individuals own propane tanks in that volume. And they're
Yeah,
usually,
they do.
they do.
We don't. Go ahead, yeah.
Dan,
I own a 500 gallon tank that I bought, so that I'm free to go with anybody,
okay.
How much does it cost?
1,500 in that big.
So maybe we should investigate the propane further. And but does not mean we can't approve all the others, so is everybody, if Sarah modified her motion, could we find out what it would cost to switch over to NITOs? In terms of the upfront costs?
So. We can,
Yes,
so we don't use a lot of gallons of propane, and I think we have tanks are spread out, correct? We have a tank for the generator,
They're the generators, the 3 generators,
yeah,
the town hall
but
and.
it's for cooking.
And the school. but the
isn't that a
school
synergy
is separate.
tank up at Town Hall?
That's,
Oh, Sandy,
suburban.
suburban, so we didn't even fit. Propane.
Yeah.
So let's invest, my point is, let's investigate the propane, and if it really truly is a savings to switch over to NITOs. But there's no reason we can't approve heating oil, kerosene, summer diesel and winter diesel, yes.
Just comment on propane. So I think the usage on the tanks that service the generators is small. So there has to be a hidden cost someplace
Mhm.
before somebody would invest in a $4,000 tank. Maybe it would be 20 years before you got that money back.
We do. I know, Vicky,
Yes, I'm sorry,
I know we have to have large tanks for the generators for obvious if they have to run for an extended amount of time, so.
Mhm.
They're 1,000 gallon tanks. I think we've explored this in the past. It's not to say that we haven't. One thing that we should explore as we go into the library, if we're gonna be looking to do propane, the cost of propane to the cost of oil is a lot less. So should we be going with oil up at the library, or should we be looking at a propane system? Propane has consistently been, and it gives you the same.
or heat pumps. Because
Correct,
we're
we
already
should.
running an old air conditioning unit at the library.
So as we explore this energy stuff,
Mhm.
propane seems to be a much more not as volatile in the market as oil is on price increases.
Mhm.
So, I'm good.
Yes, Jim,
One thing with Joe mentioned propane, but it appears coming down the road, the state is gonna make a concerted effort to probably tax propane usage out of the realm of possibility, whether they are able to pass that or not. I don't know, but They certainly kicked it around.
And
It seems that they're intent to go with electricity on everything. I don't know where we're getting the electricity from, we just lost 2 hydroelectric power plants in the storm up north.
okay, so what do we wanna do tonight?
So I'll amend my motion to remove the purchase of propane. And revise it to say, her heating oil, kerosene, summer diesel and winter diesel from Nidos.
Now, any discussion, or second?
Second.
Second by Dan, any discussion?
So just because we're revising it, we're not going with propane because we're gonna look at buying.
We're gonna
Or
look at the
at-
costs involved if we switch
In
over,
order to tank.
bringing in new tanks, they have to pump, take out the old propane and,
Can I
Well,
ask you a question?
yes.
Do you think it would make sense? For us to buy the bigger propane tanks, think it would make economic sense?
I own a propane tank. Actually, I own a couple of propane tanks in the ground. Probably if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't own the tank, and the main reason being. The responsibility from the tank to the regulator at the house, because I own the tank. Is my responsibility, so if there's a leak, I lose 450 gallons of propane, and it's too bad. If they own the tank and that feed went bad, it would be their responsibility for that, so my general advice is don't do it. Now, if you're somebody that's gonna jump from supplier to supplier on the propane, it does make sense to own your tank, but I found that most people will stay with whoever the supplier is.
Joe,
only last thing with the propane is technically legislation has put in that if Nidos decides to go with us, that they should be able to do what's called swapping steel. So they could give Suburban likewise tanks and take over, so we don't have to have the cost of switching the tanks. You would think that would work. It doesn't until push comes to shove. Suburban has gotten into trouble many a time because they are the hardest to switch with in the swapping of steel, and I have firsthand notice of this at Haystack Highlands when we switched from Suburban to Osterman, and it was not pretty, and they just eventually just dug the tanks out of Osterman's, and then they gave us the other tanks. So it could
That's good.
become, so it's really Nidos. They'd be like, you can call Nidos and they may say, we don't even wanna be involved. Because of that, so you might get that answer pretty quick, but I think we should explore it, like Jim said, but owning the tanks really isn't. I think Nidos is gotten into the propane market now, and now that there are suppliers that are gonna give us a good price in the future, because they are doing a lot of work. So,
and they're not all Suburban tanks that we have, if I'm correct. You know, Jeanette?
I'm sorry?
I don't think they're all Suburban. Yeah, so, yes,
The
Jay.
generators,
Huh?
I think the generator tanks are all Suburban.
Yes, I believe those are, but I don't know about the town hall.
It was Synergy, I don't know.
Or-
Yes,
Marco, do you pay bills to other people for propane other than Suburban?
Off the top of my head, yes, but that doesn't really give you.
we don't see very many propane bills, so.
that's the thing, you don't.
Yeah.
Good, and that
That's
was
the-
one of the reasons why some of the costs were quite high on propane, because it's a small amount.
Yeah.
Really, that we're using.
So this might be a
Yeah.
1 year, they don't know how much we really, do you provide consumption numbers to Nidos?
The gallons, yeah.
Yeah,
The
okay.
gallons on that.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Are we done discussing? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we'll revisit propane. Okay, moving on to. Setting the 24-25 tax rate. Oh, boy. So. Thanks for the good news, Marco. You're just the bearer of the news.
You knew it was coming.
Well. The good news is the town's tax rate is actually down because the grand list went up $20 million. So, am I wrong?
Correct.
So that's the good news. The bad news is our CLA is in the dumper at 70 point. Where is it? 83. And the statewide property tax went up 13-something%. And so the impact on homestead all in is about 30 cents increase. And the non-homestead increase is about 25 cents.
That's right.
So 30 cents, the increase is, Marco's got it here. It's a 13.52% increase. That's just, yes. And for non-homestead, it's 11.96%. Which means for every $100,000 your house is worth, your taxes, if you are instead, go up $310.52 per $100,000. So if you have a $500,000 house, multiply that by 5. And for non-homestead, it's gonna go up $263.72, same analogy per 100,000. Thank you for putting this all together, and it's not unexpected, but very.
Still hard to follow.
It is, and we're gonna have people who are gonna be unable to pay their property taxes, people who live here full-time, other people that, I don't know, at this rate, the real estate market, who knows, right? So. But we don't have a lot of surpluses, everybody probably saw, we only had about $200,000 from the general fund and 60 in the highway, so Marco was recommending that we transfer some of to our reserve fund, and leave the, I actually would like to leave the highway, well, it's not in a fund we can leave it in, right? It has to go to general.
We can, I mean, I want Sullivan and Powers to go through it first.
Okay.
Just to get their blessing and then see, because they're generally not a fan of buying down the tax rate, because then the following year you start with that much less money. So it's just.
It's pennies too, really.
And it's pennies anyway, it won't change much.
But the 60,000 that is in the highway fund. I'd like to be able to move it to funds potentially, but we can't do that without a townwide vote, I don't believe.
I don't think so.
I agree. So we need to set the tax rate, which is 2.1019 for the homestead that's the education rate. And that makes it, the town tax rate is 0.5054.
Right, so
That's the
if
town.
I may,
That is the town.
you wanna vote on the bottom.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put in perspective
Yeah.
just how much of this money is actually staying completely in Dover, and it's not a lot. So the homestead tax rate of 2.6073 and the non-homestead tax rate of 2.4693, all in school and municipal tax.
What was the?
Somebody want me with these two numbers right here?
Okay, so. you make a
Excuse
motion.
Nikki, could you repeat that? I'm sorry, can you repeat that,
So the total tax rate
please?
for homestead, 2.6073.
Okay,
The non-homestead rate, 2.4693.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, so I make a motion that we set the tax rate at 2.6073 for homestead and 2.4693 for non-homestead.
Second.
Any discussion? Any tears?
Yeah, I'll go home privately.
All in favor?
Um,
Aye. Okay. Moving on to the assessor. We have the assessor office update. Linda.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so. Just starting off, the grand list was lodged on June 3rd, which is the on-time date. I sent out 163 change of appraisal notices. 10 of those filed for appeals. Some of those were corrections to data and information. They were approved, and you'll find the minutes to those and results on the board across from the town clerk's desk. There are no appeals to the BCA. Moving on, preparation for the townwide reappraisal. I'll begin the process of printing off a property card for each parcel in town. I did look into the costs with New England Municipal, and in the contract, it did say that it was at their cost, that they foot the bill for that. I actually think that that's not usually done. So anyway, I'm gonna have Jeanette order a case of paper and another toner to come out of the reappraisal fund. Anything that would be earmarked reappraisal, my thought, I'll yield to the board, I believe should come out of that reappraisal fund. And that is part of the conversion process. They will begin the conversion toward the end of August, which involves setting up the new software. I'll have to learn how to use it. And I believe data collection could feasibly start late fall, early spring. I don't see them doing anything in the field over the winter. And I will write up something for Eric to post on the town website. The other thing, I would like to schedule a training or have someone schedule a training for the Board of Civil Authority through VLCT before that June date, 2026. I think it's really important we have justices of the peace that are not familiar with this process, and I don't know how many of you were on the board in 2010. So that's my hope that can happen. Currently, I'm looking at working on mapping to get some updates done, working some with Tabby to make sure that we have 911 numbers correct on the map. Files set up correctly for the reappraisal, reorganizing all the files, and filing everything that has gotten a little backed up. So that's where I'm at.
So I really appreciate the update on, and it's important to keep us all in the loop and to keep the public in the loop with what's happening, and hopefully by coming to the board and doing that, that makes a big difference too. Does anybody have any specific questions to Linda?
So we have funds in the reappraisal. Any work that she's doing, would we be able to apply some of those funds to her position when she's working within the reappraisal? Something maybe we can, I mean, I know it's,
I don't know,
How
I
that
don't know
works,
if that is allowed. Do you know, Linda, if the reappraisal fund is only for basically expenses to other people, you know, outside firms or potentially
It-
copy paper?
It would be for anything to do with reappraisal. If say we had to hire somebody to help out with pieces of that. I don't know if you remember, we purchased the wide format
Mhm.
out of the reappraisal fund. So I think that's where that came from. So I can check that out. Honestly, I think that's a little confusing. I would like to have a conversation. I'll start with Scott at some, in the next day or so, to talk about how that could feasibly work. It's a lot.
Yeah, you get your hands full,
Yeah,
yeah. So, anything else?
it's doable.
Look into that and talk to Scott, and we'll see if that's something that is allowed under the reappraisal fund. You know, there's probably guidelines about what it can be used for.
Mhm.
Anything else of Linda? Thank you, Linda.
Sure, you're welcome.
Economic development. Yes.
Quarter four update. We finalized the signage standards, approved 12 applications for Do It. Launched an RFP for maintenance on Horace Hill, Cindy Wasky is the provider, approved the signage for Horace Hill, and installed the porta potty at the park. Approved the funding for the fireworks, the Blueberry Festival, and the Wine and Harvest. And the ordinance draft has been completed and sent to legal, was as of the end of Q. And then actually it was on the back of that. Any questions on that?
Nope.
So next item is going to be plaque mounting bids. So last year we made a decision to try to go with a volunteer to mount the Phil Bartlett Memorial Plaque at the Phil Bartlett Recreation Area and Dover Town Forest. That did not go well. So I am proposing that now we have a professional come in to complete the job. So we received 2 quotes on that. It is my recommendation that we move forward with Abiotti Monuments out of Brattleboro. They quoted us $1,700 to sink the plaque into the rock with all the pins and the epoxy so that there's no deterioration of the plaque in the rock. That same bid from the second quote was $2,995. So Abiotti was going to do it for $1,700. My recommendation would be to go with Abiotti.
We have a new rock.
We do. We have a gorgeous new rock.
Excellent. The other rock was damaged and was not useful in trying to work with it. Good. Anybody have any questions? You know when they can get it done?
They said within a few weeks of an accepted.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we authorize economic development to hire Abiotti Monuments to install the plaque at a price of $1,800. $1,700. Second, giving them to.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Joe?
I
Okay, next is the East Dover sign quote.
Some residents of the town or of the East Dover side of town have requested a 4x2.5 sign at the entrance to East Dover at the Triangle. For anyone who didn't see it, this is the Village of East Dover sign. The quote comes from Dover Sign Shop.
Don't we have a sign down there when we come into that side?
We have a Town of Dover sign at the fire station. The request was for a sign for the Village of East Dover to be placed as you enter where North Street and Hill
And over.
or Dover.
Yeah.
Split.
Dan, or sorry.
Oh.
So that means I don't live in East Dover anymore?
What?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm up the street from the town side, walking to Dover.
No, I understand there could be some confusion.
We all live in the town of Dover.
Yeah, it's all Dover, right?
East west post, East Dover post office and a west Dover.
Yeah.
But there's
We all-
also a lot of signage in the Village of West Dover that it identifies it as West Dover, and we don't really have much in terms of East Dover. And I think that this would be a nice entrance to town, and I think that it would make East Dover feel good, you know,
I could, yeah,
1779.
Yeah.
I just,
and I like the design.
you're gonna go by a sign at Dover and then an East Dover sign, like within. Very short distance, correct?
I think. I defer to our historian, that is the original East Dover Village, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also would like to propose in the future that we may have a historical village sign coming into our town right here on the corner, because this is actual national registry as a historical village. So a little plaque or something might be nice.
and it's actually our village.
While we're
sign
into
as well.
signs.
And these signs are designed with our new sign guidelines in mind.
The village of East Dover.
Yeah, and it says established 1779.
Okay.
So we have a couple of options, and Eric, which one would you suggest?
My recommendation is the exposed frame carved for $2,800.
Anybody have any comment on that?
Second,
We didn't even make a motion.
And
And that's from Dover Sign Shop?
Yeah, he didn't call three of them. So somebody want to make a motion since Joe already wants to second it, or do you want to do
I'll
it?
just second it.
I make a
You can say
motion
it,
that
sir.
we approve the bid of $2,800 from Dover Sign Shop for the exposed frame carved East Dover Village sign.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Make sure you get a permit.
Yes,
That's,
I'd like to-
thank you
yes.
for reminding
I
me, so,
would- that's what I was just gonna say.
Can
Go for it.
yes.
Go for it.
okay, so I've already spoken to Tabby with a mostly completed permit. The only thing we were missing was the signature from Amy Pritchard, who is the property owner, which I now have, and Tabby and I will finalize that tomorrow. Can you please all vote to waive the permit?
what's the rest?
No, I would prefer you pay it with a credit card.
Yeah.
It's not on the agenda,
Oh.
but we, I think it's within our bounds because the cost is $10. We could, or we could all buck up $2, I guess.
No.
I'll pay Joe's.
So somebody want to make a motion that we waive the East Dover Village sign fee?
I make a motion that we waive the fee for the East Dover Village sign, the fee being $10.
Second.
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The ADU incentive program.
So out of the the Deerfield Valley Housing Committee, formerly the Bytown Housing Committee, we have been discussing incentives to landlords or property owners to incentivize having long-term rentals on property. One of the ideas that came out of that was this accessory dwelling incentive program, basically offering up to $10,000 to the property owner to make renovations or to create an accessory dwelling unit. And as Tabby pointed out, also would be an accessory apartment unit under this same program. With $5,000 upfront for design and permitting, and the final $5,000 being paid to them once the project is completed and put up for rent. There are stipulations in line with the HUD fair market rent rates to keep $1,000 for a studio apartment, $1,500 for a one bedroom, and $500 per bedroom after on the rent. So in speaking with Tabby, I don't want anyone to think that we just hand them a check for $10,000 and they start building. It starts a conversation with us and them, to which point we guide them to Tabby in terms of permitting. The sewer or septic, and we work through all of those pieces before we hand any money out to them. I've been doing that.
Okay, were you done?
I got it.
Okay, you know,
Is there any stipulation as to who you can accept into these places? Are you mandated to take certain people? Was this just open?
the guidelines say that they have to be working at least 30 hours within the Deerfield Valley.
Right, so they need to be in Dover, Wilmington.
Woodsboro maybe?
But yeah, possibly.
There's not many jobs
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
No, but I mean, is there an agency that tells you how these people to take or?
You mean
No.
like section
No.
8?
Yeah, no, so this falls very closely with what the state has been doing with VHIT, and a lot of people have asked me, why aren't we just going with the VHIT money? Because there's a lot more stipulations with the VHIT program, not to mention most of that money is already spent before the program even opens up. They encourage people to apply for those loans or grants, you know, before they even reopen them, so that by the time they do reopen, the people who don't know how to work the system don't have access to that money. All of this money that we would be approving, which we've already earmarked.
It's been in the budget. Yeah.
It's been in the budget. We have $100,000 this year in the housing budget to work on programs. So what we're proposing is $50,000 plus any legal and review fees to earmark for this program. Obviously, the final draft of this is a draft proposal at this point. The final draft would obviously be reviewed by legal to make sure that we're covered and everything there. Yeah, it's all about keeping that money in Dover, making sure that the people in Dover can access that money to provide that long-term housing, and it's going to employees who are working here in the valley.
Joe first.
Got numerous questions. So the VHIP thing, people in town could apply for that, right?
They absolutely could. There were many stipulations along with that as to who could be put into that apartment, most of those being people coming out of homelessness.
So you said 5,000 earmarked for design and whatever, and 5,000 for construction.
Correct.
For an accessory apartment, there's probably not a big design thing that's gonna occur, that's gonna cost, and I see Tabby raising her hand right. The other thing that, and I'm not trying to earmark or whatever, I would say that if they need up to, they could get up to 10,000, but if they only say they just need to, you know, put in a bathroom so they could utilize that area in the kitchen, and they get the plumber and electrician, they don't need, someone doesn't need to, coming from the trades, you don't need to get a whole design. Obviously, you still would need to get a permit and stuff like that. The other thing that would be probably pretty good with a program like this is someone that has a pre-existing individuals in an apartment to have it, some money be earmarked to remodel it, to make it a little bit nicer. So that person that's living, I know you're looking for new stuff. Some people may be wanting to, okay, if I'm gonna keep this as this person, if I could get some money, I might keep them here as opposed to getting rid of them. Yeah, I shouldn't say getting rid of them, I want to use better terminology, paper. By wanting to remodel and update their facility, they may want to bring, or someone's already living there, we'll keep them on, but we need to do this to get it up to snuff as opposed to going to like an Airbnb. So I just, you know, when you say you want to have it open and inclusive to a lot of people, I think it should be on a case-to-case basis. And Tabby, you wanted to go ahead with your.
Yeah, Sarah had her hand up first.
So the money would go to Dover property owners, but theoretically it could be for people who are employed in Wardsboro.
Correct.
But they would live here.
What they were looking at.
Wilmington is voting to approve the
The
same
same.
budget, so that we may have people living in Wilmington working in Dover.
Tabby, did you have something to say?
Yeah, depending on what is needed to either create or renovate. Either the ADU or the accessory apartment, it may. It may require. Or will probably require wastewater permitting, which would require an engineer, depending on what they're connected to, et cetera. So there may not be a big design feature with the building or the structure. But there are other fees that follow along with this that may need to happen. It all depends on what is there or what might be created.
Eric,
So just to answer some of those questions, the $5,000 up front is to help them get started with the permitting and design. If they were able to do that for less than the $5,000, they could transfer that into the rest of the bill. If somebody came to us and said, I just need to put in a bathroom, this program would work similar to do it, where they need to be providing us with invoices as to how that money was spent. If they don't spend $10,000, they don't get the $10,000, they get what they spent. And then as far as offering it to renovations of existing apartments, we hadn't thought of that. I feel like this number might be low to include all of those projects as well. If it's something you want me to write into this, I'm absolutely happy to do that. Or if we see success with this program, there's a possibility to write that into it later on down the road. I think the idea with the fact that we don't have a ton of money earmarked for housing, this was to provide, up to 5 new units in the town of Dover each year.
Dan,
Will this also have to be approved by the fire marshal, like bed and breakfast?
Everything, all of the same requirements for health and safety, fire, and all of those things that go with any long-term apartment.
It's not a big, it's big, but it's not just filling out,
oh yeah, you just read on to the next option, the SDRs,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, like there's already requirements in place for apartments and things like that. They would obviously be held to all of those standards. We're just trying to help them financially to get that work off of it. There's a good chance that a lot of people, would build something like this and it's gonna cost more than $10,000, right? We want people to have a little skin in the game. But that $10,000 holds that apartment as a long-term rental for at least 5 years at these HUD market rates, which is something we desperately need here.
I'm wondering what the market rates are, so.
That's all I just said.
No, but what is, so you're saying that you also have to have the apartment at the HUD market rate?
Correct.
Which is what for like a 1-bedroom?
So
It's right
a
here.
studio apartment is $1,000 a month. A 1-bedroom apartment is $1,500 a month. Every bedroom after that is
I just thought it was
$500.
ridiculously low, so that's.
No, every apartment after that's $500.
Scott,
So I know set the draft and they're still sorting out stuff, but is it, just to be clear, it's open to anyone that has a home in Dover that wants to add on? They don't have to be like.
or
full-time
convert a
resident.
garage or do whatever.
Fix up the
Yeah.
chicken.
Okay, so we should have, if we're done, any discussion from the public? Okay, somebody wanna make a motion?
So I make a motion that we approve the ADU incentive program as presented. For an amount of up to $50,000. Plus legal review fees. With the limit of $10,000 per awardee. Under the terms listed in the draft document.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
And again, those funds will be coming from the line item in the economic development budget. Yes,
Just as a suggestion.
Yes.
A lot of these people are going to, or theoretically, a number of these people are going to be new to being landlords. And having an array of information available to them and train or links to where they can get training on how to be a good landlord.
We're grinning because we were working on that.
I
So
like this.
we currently have a website for the Deerfield Valley Housing Committee where a lot of that information lives. It gives you access to information about how to be a good landlord, signing up for classes, any of those things. The other thing that we're doing in conjunction with all of this is the group is, and that's partially why we'll be requesting some more money for the housing committee, is that we're setting up a local landlord support group. So that people who are landlords can come and talk to people who are interested in being landlords, how to best do that, best practices in terms of filling your apartments and things like that. So there will be plenty of education opportunities. This is just in conjunction with all the rest of the work that we do.
Landlords and all.
I should this before, but I should really appreciate that we're doing this. I think it's so great. I know we probably all think this, but I appreciate the efforts towards this, and I think that's a really.
And a lot of this is coming from the Bytown Housing Committee,
Yes.
which has been meeting since, oh my goodness, 2007?
Yeah.
No, maybe not that long, maybe it was 2017.
Yeah, I think 2018.
2018, and we feel like we are also, like Joe was saying with the water, just kind of talking and talking and talking, and now we have to start doing some things. What?
Don't give out money,
Well,
subsidize.
yeah, okay, thank you. The STR ordinance,
No,
no,
housing committee funding.
housing
So
committee
the-
funding, oh.
The other request that I'm making tonight is that we earmark an additional $5,000 of the $100,000 in the line item to put towards housing committee initiatives like paying for mixers for those landlord meetings and marketing of our website. I recently rebuilt that website. We'd like to send people to it to use it. So we're looking to, just to have, we don't have anything planned to spend the money on at the moment, but just to have some money in that pot to spend from to set up a lot of these things and market these things would be really helpful.
To do even mailings or whatever we need to do, we have no money, so it's really hard to promote anything that any of these tools that we're trying to put together. And so that's what it is, Sarah.
Was there did you say something about $100,000? Is that coming out of that or on top?
Yes, no, that was coming out of that money. So
Okay.
we've already earmarked the 50 plus legal fees for the housing program. It would be an additional 5,000 coming out of that line item, which still leaves us a good.
About 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so make a motion that we authorize allocating $5,000 from the housing committee funding to housing committee initiatives and support.
The Bytown Housing Committee, the new name.
I thought it was Deerfield Valley.
Deerfield
Oh,
Valley
Deerfield
Housing.
Valley, sorry.
That's the old deed.
I know. No, it's
For
so,
the Deerfield Valley Housing Committee,
no.
Yeah.
Deerfield Valley Housing.
Deerfield Valley Housing,
Are we a committee?
We're a committee.
okay. Jeanette's like, just make the motion, you big.
Anybody second?
Second.
And as part of discussion, we did actually request an additional $2,500 from Mount Snow for our efforts as well. And any other business who's wanting to participate, and Gretchen will be going to Wilmington to make this request in August.
Did we vote?
Not yet.
You have a question first?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
I
Aye. Okay, now the STR ordinance.
We put together an ordinance for the short-term rentals. It says everything that we've been discussing the entire way through in terms of what our rules and requirements would be. Written by me, reviewed by Shannon, reviewed by Sarah, and then reviewed by legal, where we work back and forth to clear up anything that wasn't clear or didn't cover the town. So here it is.
And the fees that we're proposing,
The fees that we're proposing will obviously be based on
the cost,
the cost of. Yes,
I've got it right here.
yeah, no, it's, so the initial fee to register and to renew will be $125 per year. Failure
Per
to,
property.
per listing, that you have on Airbnb
Or other.
Or other
or
platforms.
other platform.
And then there's penalties if you if you violate that.
Correct. There are also.
What's the waiver? If there's a penalty, what's the waiver?
So the waiver is if you. have been assessed a fine and don't attempt to appeal or fight that fine.
Gotcha. On number 9, information, you're gonna hold yourself to be handling the ordinance if people follow that questions.
Economic development, whose telephone number and address is.
Yep.
Is a person knowledgeable about the ordinance and available to answer questions and provide persons with a full text thereof.
We've been the point of contact this entire way through, and honestly, throughout this entire process. I know it takes up a little bit of my time, not a lot, but honestly, I'm happy to have the conversation with anyone who calls. Because it's really helped to clear up a lot of the misconceptions, you know, people hear about something like this in town without the facts and the torches and the pitchforks come out. Whereas when I get a chance to speak with them and help them to understand what it is we're actually trying to do here, and the fact that it's just about the safety and accountability, it really helps to smooth the entire process.
Will this application be online?
Absolutely. So would be the next piece, is moving forward with Deckard, who we spoke to a few months ago. Once the ordinance is in place. Was gonna ask tonight about when do you want me to move forward with Deckard, but they would start doing the property search, basically compile all of those properties together, and then from there start sending out letters to each one of those property owners, guiding them to an online process that will be extremely simple. They've also offered to host online education to help those property owners, anyone who might not be tech savvy, who might need help through the application process, they'll help them through with that. They've also offered to provide education for those property owners about what it means to be a good short-term rental owner. So there's a ton of education opportunities here, but this will be a short, easy process to get these pieces up and get your registration taken care of.
Great, comments, Jim?
Yeah, tell me question. But does this affect the quarter shares of the Grand Summit, which are a lot of those are the short-term rentals?
That. It falls under, it's the quarter shares it's basically a hotel. And they're not considered, we can't, as an owner, I can't rent my unit but with Mount Snow. With their agreement, so I don't think it's gonna fall under it, because it's really a hotel, not a. Falls more under a hotel than a short-term rental type thing. So I mean, I hope all of us don't have to register 500 some odd owners.
That was not our intention.
That doesn't make any logical sense, when we're already paying fees of these things, to make sure things are done properly.
So those properties.
Hold on, Jim had his hand up.
Sorry, Jim.
So legal people looked at that,
Right, yeah, legal people looked at it.
at the Grand Summit specifically.
No, I don't think so, right here?
No,
Can you get an answer on that?
okay. But can I ask my question?
Yes.
So you, as an owner there, can't list that on Airbnb, correct?
I can, that's not to say that. I hope they find some that are, because they're not supposed to.
Okay.
Okay,
So, but that's not to say. It's not occurring.
Okay.
And I can say it has occurred. But it's not supposed to. So will you find some? Probably.
Sarah,
So if they, when they do their searches, if they uncover these. Is the hope that would then go back, report to the Grand Summit and say, you have some people in our listing. And let them address it? Is
Yeah,
that kind of the thought? or-
Cease and desist.
they try, yeah, they do.
but now we're gonna be searching all the time.
Right, we're gonna have a search set up.
That should be interesting, right? That's
There,
Hold on, Marco.
Yeah, I mean, the Grand Summit, place like that, that already exists it's already a short-term rental scheme.
It's not.
Isn't this short-term rental bylaw? It seems to me like it arose because there are people abandoning their long-term presence in town in favor of quick money, short-term transient people. And that's kind of why you had to do this, whereas the Grand Summit is already, whether it's on Airbnb or somewhere else, they're just here for the weekend, you know,
And they're already under all the fire ordinances and all that is already, which is a big part of one of the reasons that this has been developed is they control the parking. They control the, you know, the guest check-in experience. If there's a problem, they have a front desk, somebody can call. Huh?
It's a hotel.
Yeah.
It's a whole time.
It's just the hotel.
Hold on. Scott had his hand up, so he should speak.
No, I'm saying like the purpose of doing this is what, for safety and like you're saying, clearing up misconceptions, so if we just think back to the purpose of what we were doing for that, then kind of seems like. Mount Snow wouldn't really need to be an issue, because for all the reasons already discussed.
Sarah,
So, I guess. Jim, if I'm understanding, what we wanna know is how an arrangement like the Grand Summit. Would interact with this ordinance. And is that something that we need to make a phone call to the attorney who did the final draft on it and ask them how that would affect?
yes, Jim.
I think that's fair, but Mount Snow itself. Handles a lot of short-term rentals. On other properties, it's not just the Grand Summit.
A lot of the condos in the base
I mean,
area.
they're competing with, you know, rentals only and. You know, a host of places up and down the street here. So where is that line drawn?
Sarah,
Are the rental, like a place like Rentals Only, are they handling like weekend? 4 or 5 day rentals, or are they doing like seasonal rentals?
I'm not an expert on
Okay,
this, so
because seasonal rentals wouldn't be covered by this, based on the.
I believe. That some of these. Places you speak of, you handle short-term rentals.
so short-term rentals. I think the Grand Summit is a little outlier, but like. Some of these short-term rentals, they should be inspected and have the same fire requirements and. They probably, if you check in with a lot of those places, you get 2 parking permits and that's all you can park there. So I think they're self-regulating a lot of it themselves already, but those are good questions, Joe.
So what he's bringing up is just like, you have Vacasa and some of the other agency and rentals only. So Mount Snow manages other people's properties. So they get a commission to rent that property. It still is on the owners of the property to make sure their property is up to snuff. Not really Mount Snow's, they need to, now Mount Snow should be looking to this paperwork, making sure it's filled out for all of their properties. So that's what Mount Snow's gonna be looking at, same thing with like a Vacasa or rentals only, that now for them to be listing this property, it has to have a short-term rental agency, has to be registered. So it's gonna be hand in hand to going forward.
Dan,
I know from Rentals Only that Larry Nutting lots of times has to come and bring people keys for short-term rentals.
because they don't have any keys.
Yeah. Or the keys are not working, or they're left.
Can we go back and follow that?
Yeah, Sarah.
So one of the things that we liked about Deckard is that they scrape all of the major websites and the non-major websites and any website we ask them to scrape. So if there are local rental agencies that are doing short-term rentals, we can point them in that direction to make sure that those property owners are contacted as well.
And you also have people that just have their own website that people can search and get to too, so hopefully they'll scrape those.
Yeah, the one-offs are gonna be tough, right? Like, there's no perfect system realistically, right? But the one-offs absolutely are going to be tough, so unless someone says, hey, I saw this, or this person isn't registered, then we might not catch every person the first time around, but the hope is that eventually, we get the majority of these properties are again held to that safety and accountability standards.
Dan,
I have a rough idea how many of these properties are there.
In Westover, alone, rough idea was around 742.
Wow.
Now, the fees that we're proposing, just so everyone is absolutely clear, is again based on the cost for us to register those properties. We're not making money on it. I've been referred to many times as the tax man. That's Margot, not me. So we're not making money on it. We're not going above and beyond. We're literally just trying to have those properties cover the cost of this type of registration.
Another line item, Marco.
So it sounds like we have a few questions,
Okay.
unfortunately, but that need to be answered. And they're good questions, so I think that we should have that in our information realm, you know. Yes, Jim.
Last thing, I'm not picking on the grandson, but
Yeah,
Jim Creek runs around with the program, seasons. I mean, you can go any one of these places. You know, they do that in-house. They're not on VBRO or Airbnb, they're not on those sites that may be modded.
So the question is, are they, I'm assuming they're all safety standards, all fire extinguishers, all the, are properly included in every rental?
I'm not arguing that
Okay,
piece of the game, my assumption is they were up to snuff also. But, I mean, this probably it. Maybe as many 6 big condo associations that do it themselves. That don't go to.
He is bringing up
Those
some good
sites that
point.
might be monitored.
Yeah,
You also have,
hold on. Did you raise your hand?
no, I don't think it's my, but I will.
Eric had his hand up first.
I just wanted to point out, so I don't know that all of those communities are up to snuff because a number of them have reached out to us looking for guidance on how we would be proceeding to see if they needed to proceed with any of their own pieces of rules, I guess, like ours. So I don't know that they're all up to snuff. As far as those go, I would combat that, I guess, by sharing this information with them that it is a requirement. And if those places are listed locally, if they're listed online, we will find them and make sure that they're included in all of this registration process.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a question of finding them, I think it's a question of making aware that this is what the program is.
Mhm.
And you need to do this. I hate to sit back and find a quarter in the street, I would rather.
be proactive and go to the associations and go to.
Yeah.
Joe?
So the other big one is Dover Watch. You know, Dover Watch does theirs, but it wouldn't be each individual owner. You know, they have their own check-in process. I think they utilize something, but it would just making sure that they are filling out and making sure that they're up to snuff with their safety stuff, which they may not have. I'm not saying they are, they haven't, but I hope they have, which I think they do short term.
Sarah first.
Those are condos.
So. Eric, you're saying that the first step is gonna be for them to do they're gonna scour. And they'll go to the major sites and then any other sites that we suggest that they look at. And then a letter will go out to each individual renter. So in that process, we're going to catch the vast majority of the rental properties out there, and we're going to educate them about what's expected of them. And then at that point, it'll be, they will either conform or they won't, and if they don't, then there's going to be, we have a series of consequences set up. But we get to say to this agency, we want you to search this, this, and this, so it's not just VBRO and Airbnb, we can also say, we want you to do a search for Seasons, we want you to do a search for Green Springs and Timber Creek and Dover Watch, and this is their profession, so they're going to know how to find those things.
I think these are good questions. I wish they would have come a little earlier. But they are good questions. I think we should clarify.
So I didn't write them down.
But Jeanette did.
Jeanette did.
And
Just looking
Oh,
at
it
this.
should be on that, right, okay, perfect, so I will get some answers together for those questions.
okay. Thank you, I know it's a pain, but I
No,
think
it's
these are
okay.
important, we should know what we're doing going in. And instead of having adopted an ordinance and then having people question it and we don't know how the answers. Thank you, Eric.
Okay.
Eric,
Good, by the way.
Thank you. Can I just wanted to give 2 quick updates,
Yeah.
that one of them. So, as long as all of you are okay, I gave you just some hand printed copies of it here. I'd like to send this off to Minuteman. That printing expense would come out of the Trails and Rec implementation. And then the only other thing that I wanted to let you know is that I plan on purchasing, for no more than $500, a number of backpacks with different discs in them for people to be able to take out from the library. And also from here, so that people who want to go out and play disc golf can do so without purchasing all of their own equipment. So again, that expense would be no more than $500, but again, it will come out of the Trails and Recreation budget.
so I hate to say this,
Yeah,
but can we add no camping?
yes, absolutely.
Just knowing the parking lot and everything, no camping allowed, no overnight camping, no camping, because you
Yeah.
can see that happen,
Yeah.
right? What,
And, no overnight camping, no overnight parking, all of it, we're gonna run these rats.
And as far as this map goes, the hard copy will be in the kiosk by the end of this week, and
Great.
I'm really just waiting on the disc golf things, which I made a few more phone calls about today, so ribbon cutting.
that's a great idea to have the disc golf, so we can try it, available at the library.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Eric. We need to go to the Board of Liquor Control.
I make a motion, we enter the Board of Liquor Control.
All in favor?
Aye.
First class licenses, Black Amber Grill and Alpine Kitchen LLC Trail, DBA Trail 87.
Where's Black Ember Grill?
Is that the new one at the, by Horace Hill?
It's,
Yeah.
Rich Kaplan's building.
A Brazilian restaurant.
Yeah.
What? Brazilian restaurant?
I make a motion that we approve.
What, are we good, Mike?
Yeah, I already gave you the thumbs.
Richie said it was on the.
Yeah,
I make a motion that we approve the first class licenses for Black Ember Grill and Alpine Kitchen LLC DBA Trail 87 and the third class license for Black Ember Grill.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I
Motion to come out?
make a motion, we come out of the Board of Liquor Control.
All in favor?
I want a menu for that.
Consent agenda, approve the minutes of June 18th, 2024. Don't we have to approve the June 24th, 14th as well, which was the employee review day?
I thought we did that at the June 18th meeting. Maybe not.
They came out in the same email from you. I didn't know. So I didn't know, but we. They were in the same. I can't remember, but I just thought, oh, they were in the same email, so.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 18th. We move on there.
Sure.
Who's
Second, anybody?
Second.
Were we all here?
Yeah, all right, so at the June. Oops.
Cause that was the Friday you weren't here. For that. Some disorganized.
I was not here June 14th. No, I was.
They weren't on the agenda for June 18th. I'm looking at the agenda of June 18th right now. So I think that those were the ones when you were with the, it's just the employee review minutes, which is basically nothing.
Okay, so we can add that next time.
Well, the minutes themselves are pretty. Sketchy.
Oh, here it is. June 4th, yeah, this is just the employee review, so there's not much in it. So I don't think we've approved those, so can we
Well,
amend?
we have a motion for the 18th on the floor.
Yes. So
Sorry.
anybody have any changes or corrections? All in
Aye.
favor?
I wasn't here for the majority of that meeting, so.
And then can we add the June 14th, or do we need to add that as a new agenda item next time?
I
We
can't,
just do it next.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see where we are now. I make a motion, excuse me. Oh.
I make a motion, we approve the warrants of June 22nd, 2024 for $175,765.19. And July 6th for $173,910.33.
Any questions about the warrants? I heard everybody looked at it. Good job. The ones from this past week.
Yeah, there was a couple sheets, that. Scott, you didn't sign this one, Dan didn't sign this one, but I know you all looked at them, it's just. Clean.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, you guys signed before you leave.
Yeah.
We have concerts in the park. We have Erica Reynolds on Sunday, the 21st at 2. We have Picket Fence on a Wednesday evening, the 24th at 6 p.m. And Miss Paula and the Twain Busters, August 4th at 2 p.m. Planning Commission meets July 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Wyndham Regional meets July 30th for the town plan final approval. And the town fair, as everybody knows, is at Killington, October 1 to 2. Registration opens in August.
I just wanted to add also, I neglected to put the primary election is coming up on August 13th. So
Okay.
don't forget that.
So there was discussion about postponing or canceling the August 6th meeting. What's everybody think? What do you think, Jeanette?
I know I have things on an agenda for August 6th already, but.
Well,
Have a long meeting on
Not gonna
August,
be here.
whatever.
I probably will not, I'm coming home from Europe that day, so my ability to be at a meeting is probably gonna be horrible.
Your cherry ability.
I'm also.
I need to be away too.
Oh, I can't even Zoom at that point.
Yeah, I'm not saying this.
So I don't know why you guys couldn't have a meeting, and Sarah's totally capable of running a meeting. If you guys wanna do whatever you wanna do. What do we have, anything that's super timely, Jeanette?
Well, the water system committee, well, that is
Yeah,
on there again, if we get any road crew applicants, that was on there. And then Rich, talking about the truck, the contract with Dingy for the truck purchase.
Can we just do that? Chuck? We're doing another truck?
I'll get some more time for Sarah, get some numbers, so that way
Yeah.
when we come, we can actually take some action.
yeah, 2 weeks is a little short amount of
That's
time.
short for.
You
get some
you guys
numbers,
decide.
So. I'm good with,
Put it up,
or-
or we can do it the following,
I'm good to defer.
move the meeting to the next week instead of.
We could, and,
Instead
well-
of canceling it altogether.
well, isn't there a conflict with, on Tuesdays, the, second and fourth?
Right, well, the 13th would be the election, so we can't do it the 13th anyways.
Election for what?
Primary
Primary.
election for the election. I don't know, it's totally up to you, we can put it all out till the 20th. And just.
It'll be a very long meeting on the 20th, I'm sure.
Like
And
you
this has
said.
been a long one, but it's not 2 hours yet, so.
yes, so that, honestly.
Alright, so we got 10 minutes.
You know, it doesn't, but, and we had a very big agenda. So are we canceling August 6th?
Yep.
Just eat your Wheaties, Jeanette, and then that will be it. We will meet every other month, twice a month at least, sometimes more, because budget season's coming again. So,
We set
huh?
You set the municipal rate tonight?
Yeah, we did. Did you sleep through that?
Hang on.
Anybody having a liaison report? Do we need an executive session? I am not aware of one. So who would like, I am gonna adjourn here at 8:19 PM. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Thank you for recording.